ESPN FC Live reaction to Fulham against Manchester United. Kay Murray and Janusz Mihajlik here with you for That's Been a While, my friend Janusz. Both teams here looking for their first wins of the season. It wouldn't come for either of them. It finished 1-1. And Janusz, I want to start with Manchester United, because if last week we were talking about this defeat to Arsenal being a loss with positives, what would we summarise this game as for United?
It almost felt like last season, right? Yes, I look at Manchester United even last season. I mean, against the big teams, they've done well. It's against the smaller teams they didn't compete. And apart from the quick start today, where I thought they're going to continue what they've done against Arsenal, which is a lot of good organization, almost a little bit of a blueprint of how maybe Manchester United is going to play today. The first 10 minutes, Cunha with two great chances that he's got to put away. But then again, after that, remember, they conceded on the corner against Arsenal. Here, three almost identical corners that Manchester United couldn't figure it out with Bassi, Rodrigo Muniz having a chance, Anderson as well. So very, very disappointing, really. I know it's early. I know the expectations are higher, maybe because of that first game. But let's not forget, they still lost to Arsenal in that first game, only 1 point here. And you know how I feel about Premier League, Kay. Contrary to popular opinion, for me, this is a sprint. It's not a marathon. Look where they are right now. 1 point. Everybody is running away in terms of the big teams. I even look at Spurs, who were just as big a mess as Manchester United. They were next to each other last season. Look at them, 6 points, right? So very, very disappointing today. Almost felt like this is the sort of game that Manchester United would have lost last season. They weren't far away from it.
Let's go through a few of the key moments, starting with the ongoing VAR check that was happening in the first half while the teams were still playing, which led to a Manchester United penalty for Calvin Bassey throwing down Mason Mount. First of all, was it a penalty for you?
100% penalty. I don't even know what a discussion is. How much more is it going to take, right? Even a hold like this, if you were just to hold him, but, throw him down, wrestling style for sure. I was looking at Luke Shaw against Rodrigo Muniz, and that to me, as a player, I'm bypassing the laws of the game. I know I shouldn't, but, if I look at that, I'd say, that was a haul. But then I look at Muniz, who dove head first, really. And to me, anyway, 100% penalty and a right decision.
And then came the penalty, and Bruno Fernandes, who's usually surefire from the spot, skies his penalty. I want to get your take on this, because when we actually looked back and saw the replays, when he's stepping back and setting himself up to take it, he bashes into the referee, and it seems to really throw him off. Did it throw him off his penalty?
Maybe. He missed it in a spectacular fashion. This is Bruno Fernandes, their best player, one of the best players in the world. It shouldn't in that fashion. But, when I watched the rest of the game, maybe it has, because he was definitely not the same player after that. And I could go on and talk about other players who disappointed, right? Manchester United obviously strengthened themselves. But I think great players get past that, right? I don't know. If that did, it doesn't bode well about Bruno Fernandes. I don't buy into that.
I'll definitely revisit those players that disappointed you in a moment, but I do want to get to the opening goal. Lenny Yoro, although goes down as an own goal because it comes off the back of Rodrigo Muniz. It's the first United goal of the Premier League season for Manchester United. Should the opener have stood, though?
No. Absolutely not. It's a push. There'll be many, that will say, well, you got to be stronger and all this. If it's a body-to-body contest, right, and there's a little bit of push, right, you're both jumping for it, then I would say, no, you got to be strong enough. But here, when you have two arms straight and the ball is in the vicinity, and Bassi's certainly good in the air, big man, probably, obviously not seeing what's behind, to me, that's not a goal, that's a foul.
Okay, and do you think that you can link the two situations as well, and Fulham can feel hard done by, given the fact that a penalty was given against them, and then we see here this being a goal for Manchester United?
Absolutely. Look, the way I saw it, right, those are two different situations, in my opinion, right? Guilty on one side, and, if you look at Bassi, 100%, but I don't know if I link those, because, you have to judge these situations separately and not look at it, maybe the same player involved, and look what happened there, and he didn't get it back. Getting into minutiae of that, I treat them separately. And for me, first, a clear penalty, right decision from the referee and the VAR team. Second one, a goal scored, which shouldn't be allowed. If VAR looks at that and looks at the laws of the game, I'm not sure how they made that decision. Clear foul.
Meanwhile, Yanis, when it comes to Fulham's equaliser, talk about an instant impact from Emil Smith-Rowe. I think it was his first touch, 93 seconds after coming on.
Yeah, I mean, a good cross defensively, because, we're going to get to players. Overall, that's not going to change my mind, but a little bit disappointed with De Ligt, who's been much, much better, something that was promised. And, it took him a while to get there so far in these 2 games, of course. I think in the first one, like if I look, he could have stepped up, to cut the cross out. Maybe I think it was in front of Jimenez, if memory serves right. And then Luke Shaw, who again, it's such a bonus after missing so much time. I like his experience. I like the way he's played in the first game against Arsenal. Obviously fell asleep there, and Smith-Rowe puts it away. So if you look at the substitutions anyway, Fulham subs made a difference, much more so than the substitution that Manchester United made.
So let's get into some of the players that disappointed you most today, because you did allude to it a little earlier on.
Well, I mean, the 3 key players that really disappointed me, right? You have to look at Mateus Cunha, because he didn't put away. I mean, he started very well. He had 2 very good chances, right? Hit the post. And especially, I think that second one, it was a route 1 type of situation. Bayendir with that long ball. Cunha's first touch, spectacular. Bernd Leno, who's been so good for Fulham, obviously has a great save. But I think out of the 2, he's got to put one, if not both, away. Because after that, we didn't see much of Mateus Cunha at all. And Bomo, another one, who basically, I didn't know he was in the game at all if it wasn't for that cross for the goal. That was allowed, by the way, because I think it was Mbomo who delivered the corner. But other than that, very, very disappointing. And Bruno Fernandes, because that was a quiet game. Forget the penalty, forget his reaction, if you like it or not. It happens to players, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But I think just in general, Bruno Fernandes had a very, very, very quiet game.
Okay, so let's take a look at what's coming up for Manchester United now. They're in EFL Cup action against Grimsby. Then it comes to the Premier League games that follow. So they're at home against Burnley. That is then followed by the Manchester derby against Man City away from home. And then they host Chelsea at Old Trafford. What are you looking for in these coming games from them? I mean, that game against Burnley is a must-win, isn't it, going into those games that follow, and especially now that they've only got a point from the first 2.
It is. I mean, look, going from the first game where we sort of saw maybe what was promised to us by Amorim, right? His first game, his first full season, right? I mean, obviously got a couple players on board, key players that I think will be fine. I've mentioned Cunha and Bomo. But I look at Manchester United and I'm thinking, look, great game against Arsenal, but another loss at Old Trafford, which has been, if you look at last season, I mean, just imagine how the aura of Manchester United might have quickly changed if they were to beat Arsenal, because they deserved it. They deserved 3 points in that game. They didn't get it. Here's a disappointing draw right now. So just 1 point. And then, if pressure comes in, even if they beat Burnley, but don't do well against Manchester City and Chelsea, I think, we're talking about same Manchester United that's just not winning. I don't care how much we like Amorim. I don't care how much we think that if given time, he's going to deliver. The bottom line, since he's come over, they've won only 15 games out of 29, 30 games? I think it's 29 games, 15 Premier League games out of 29. So there are worries. He still needs pieces. And of course, we haven't even mentioned Bayendir, who again looked very, very iffy with Onana. I mean, they must get a goalkeeper before the deadline. Absolutely. Because otherwise we're going to have this narrative, unless somehow Onana becomes one of the greatest goalkeepers, which I don't believe he will. Who knows if he's still going to be here. I think the spine is sort of looking a little bit better. I've mentioned De Ligt. Bruno Fernandes is still a wonderful player. I still think, with Cunha and Bomo, they are much better in that front line. Casemiro's not going to do it in the center of the pitch, but a goalkeeper and perhaps holding midfielder. But they have to address the goalkeeper situation and put it to bed. I mean, this is, what do you think? 10, 15 points a season. That's a lot of points.
Yeah, obviously they're in talks with the Royal Antwerp keeper, Sen-Lamen. Obviously, it's a big call from Amorim, as you said. Altay keeping his place today over Onana. Lots to think about for Amorim going forward. Just to finish, We're a couple of games in now, Yanish, so I'll let you revisit this subject if you've been asked already. We were asked on ESPN FC where we would have Manchester United finishing this season. Will it be a top 6 finish for them? Will it be a top 10 finish for them? Where have you got them right now?
I think right now, looking at this is top 10 because I look at it simply 1 point out of possible 6. That's not good start by any means the way they play against Arsenal because they got to get the points there, right? They
Yes.
didn't, and here a big disappointment. So yeah, I mean we're not talking about top 4. That's not going to happen. Top 6, 7 if they turn this around immediately, possibly, but top 10 at best.
Okay, tough run ahead for Manchester United, but first up it is Burnley. Yanish, great to catch up with you. And of course,
Same
this
here,
game
Kate.
finished Fulham 1-1 against Manchester United.